We live in an age of incredible innovation. Technology lets us access all the world's information from a computer that fits in our pocket. We can tailor medicine to your specific DNA. Recreational trips to outer space are within grasp. And yet, we live in an age of unprecedented toxic chemical exposure. Despite all these feats, we've managed to create a world where we live in a constant toxic soup. Industrial and synthetic chemicals are in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and the products we use each and every day. We all encounter chemicals, hundreds if not thousands of them each and every day, and some of them are known to scientists to cause a range of diseases and conditions from ADD to Parkinson's. There are over 80,000 chemicals in use today. 700 are added to the market each year, most without any study. People always say to me, but the government wouldn't allow it to be sold on store shelves in America if it wasn't safe. Not so. The reality is this issue is highly political, and the result is that outside of prescription drugs, there is no single agency to universally screen and vet products for human health harms before they go on shelves. Yes, there are a few laws, but the laws have loopholes, and they're inadequate. One such law, controlled by the EPA 40 years ago, allowed in 62,000 chemicals as presumed safe, with zero study. Zero. In the time since, we've learned that in fact some of these allowed or so-called grandfathered chemicals are indeed harmful. But no action has been taken. In that time frame, the EPA has only been able to regulate 5 chemicals and was unable to fully ban asbestos, a known carcinogen. The law was recently updated. Now it requires the examination of 7 chemicals per year. That's no way to counter the thousands of chemicals at large today. In that time frame, at that pace, in a century, we will have gotten through this year's new chemicals. But what about all of the others? Chemicals are everywhere. I'm talking about your shampoo, shaving cream, household cleaners, cosmetics, clothes, baby products, furniture, cookware, plastic cups, wallpaper, paint, everything. We live in an age where babies are born pre-polluted. Studies show that newborns are exposed to a cocktail of hundreds of harmful chemicals in utero. Those are my twins. They started my journey, this journey. Unlike when they were born, unlike their older sister, they were allergic to seemingly everything. Honestly, things I didn't know it was possible to be allergic to: diapers, wipes, allegedly hypoallergenic creams and lotions, things the hospital sent me home with. Their tiny bodies would break out in red rashes and painful irritations. Each time I used a specific breastfeeding pillow to nurse them, they would vomit. The journalist in me just said, whoa, stop. What on earth could possibly be in the stuff that I am using that would make my babies physically sick? And I quickly researched and started learning some of what I'm sharing with you today, which is that These chemicals of concern, they don't just appear in our bodies, they're in our things, and they're in our homes, and the molecules that make them up, they don't stay put, they migrate. That's how they get into us. The World Health Organization says that 17% of all cancers are attributable to household air pollution. Think about that, not outdoor air pollution, indoor air pollution. How? Well, take formaldehyde, for example, a known carcinogen. It is in literally hundreds of things in your home right now, furniture, flooring, disinfectants. But I found formaldehyde by another name altogether in a cream that I used on my twins. It's a common preservative in cosmetics. It's used without any warning, but it's also a known skin irritant. Or take that breastfeeding pillow that I used. It was loaded with endocrine disrupting flame retardant chemicals, which will not prevent a fire, nor are they frankly necessary. And yet, those chemicals are used abundantly, and these special compounds, endocrine disrupting compounds, can do a lot in our systems. They interfere or interrupt with a highly synchronized hormone signaling process that starts in each of us prior to birth and continues throughout life. Messing up with your hormones, messing up the hormones can lead to sleep issues, cause obesity, trigger behavioral problems, lead to diminished intellectual capacity, cause fertility challenges later in life. The list goes on. At a critical window of development, it is said that endocrine disruptors will yield diseases years later, such as autoimmune disorders and cancers. And the thing about these is that their impact doesn't stop with you. The impact can be felt as many as 4 generations down the line. I know this can be a lot to take in. If you're hearing this for the first time, you're probably a little overwhelmed. You might be kind of terrified, actually, and you may be mentally purging items from your home. But know this: we live in an age where the solution exists. We have all the information we need to begin to solve this problem. I'm hopeful. Other countries do more to protect their citizens. Some Asian countries and in Europe, for example, in the EU, they have actually regulated 1,400 chemicals in cosmetics. By comparison, the US has regulated 11. If the US government cannot protect its people, clearly it is time for a private sector solution. And that is why I started MadeSafe.org. We are America's first program to vet and certify a wide array of products in your house as non-toxic and made from ingredients and materials that are not known to cause human or environmental health harm. Because citizens are busy people. Most aren't scientists. It should not require a PhD to determine whether or not something is safe for use. And that's why there's the Made Safe seal. Because it's as simple as this: the stuff we use on a daily basis should not lead to disease. I know we gathered, I know this can be a lot, but there are things you can do about it, and we prove that. We gathered doctors, scientists, and experts from across disciplines in order to design a protocol to vet ingredients and materials. First, we look at a known list of toxicants to avoid, simply not allowed. Next, we use a chemist, and we do what's known as predictive modeling and analysis to look at whether or not every single ingredient in a product is likely to build up in the body, break down in the environment, or cause ecosystem harm. We don't allow any of them in. If we have doubt, we don't have enough information, we deem that ingredient guilty until research can prove it innocent. It's called exercising what's known as the precautionary principle. While this might sound like common sense, it's actually revolutionary. On a shoestring budget with a tiny team, our nonprofit has certified over 400 products from across 30 brands in 6 months. And we are just getting started. Forward-thinking brands recognize that this is the foreseeable future, one where we are not all lab rats in a massive, uncontrolled experiment, that this is possible. And I want you to know that your actions matter. I learned firsthand that cleaning up the environment around us can make a difference in our bodies, and studies prove it. A recent study of teen girls called for a simple personal care product switch to avoid 4 endocrine disrupting compounds. This simple switch resulted in a reduction of each one of those compounds from 27 to 45% in their bodies in 2 days. Why? Because when our bodies are not overwhelmed with toxins, they're designed to get rid of them. In the 1970s, when the US government acted to remove lead from gasoline, children's blood lead levels went down by 70%. You can lower your risk for disease. This is the key. Reducing your exposures allows your body burden to be decreased, and that act increases your likelihood of good health. It's time for us to tell companies today that, you know what? We can do better. This science exists. You know what? We must do better. And I told you about those forward-thinking companies. It takes courage to work with us today. It is a radical act to work with Made Safe. These considerations are not yet typical. Today, companies ask, you know, will it make the color brighter? Will it make this cheaper? Will it make it perform better or last longer? And not whether or not exposure will lead, whether or not use will lead to exposure to a neurotoxin. I would ask all of you to make conscious choices when you shop. We have the power to move the market with our purchases, to vote with our dollars, and send a signal to mass market players and say, you know what? It is time to clean up your act. And that changes and cleans up the supply chain and the environment around the globe. Our actions, our collective actions matter. At Made Safe, we've done the hard work and the homework so you can get started. Voting with your dollars for a healthier and sustainable tomorrow. Start to reduce your own body burden. Remember, we can change this toxic status quo. Let's live in the age that eradicates human health hazards and makes health a birthright. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.